All right, here we go with the official teaser trailer for Scream 6, released today. And yeah, I like how they do that. I mean, the fact that they're using the Roman numerals rather than the traditional numbers as they did in parts 2, 3, and 4. I think that signifies subtly but effectively enough that this is a new era of Scream. Again, I think the only thing that makes it confusing is that they should have just done the exact same thing, but with the Roman numeral 5 in that V in the middle of the M for the last movie, and it all would have worked out. They could have still called it Scream in all of the marketing, you know what I mean. But they would have just acknowledged that it is Scream 5 a little bit more. But in fairness to the marketing team for the 2022 film, um, they were presenting that as if it was a requel because it did have a lot of commentary about requels. So they were presenting it as if, kind of like Halloween 2018, where it's the exact same title and it's a requel. Of course, the irony there is that Scream 2022 is very much not a requel, it is a traditional sequel. All right, on with the teaser. All right, so I like that Paramount and Spyglass, they have their cool kind of black and white logos come in here, nice and moody. And right away, bright lights, big city. Here we go. Totally different setting for a Scream movie that we've ever seen. So right off the bat, when we're like, oh, we've seen it all with these Scream movies, what are they going to do that's different? Well, I think right here, right off the bat, they're setting the tone. Here's one major thing that we're doing differently. And you get just some of these instantly recognizable, okay, this is New York City, it's super busy, it's nighttime, but look how bright it is, look at everything going on down there. And here we go, we're off and running. And then right away, again, I gotta love that whoever's in charge of the marketing, answering my number one burning question right off the bat here with the fact that, here are some characters in costume. Now it's hard to tell right here if these characters are some of our primary characters or if they are, in fact, just some extras glimpsed briefly. I can't really make out who this is exactly. I don't think it's any of our returning characters. But there you see a guy in the classic hot dog costume. It looks like the girl might be dressed maybe as an alien. Somebody in, it looks like a knight's outfit, a pink cowboy hat with a guy wearing a cheeseburger hat, and then random people in the background not in costume. Again, a very New York on Halloween looking scene. Just very subtly letting us know that, okay, maybe they're on their way to a costume party and it's not Halloween, but with all of these other costumes that we get a glimpse of, I would say no, it's definitely Halloween. So there's somebody dressed as David Bowie. One of you mentioned Chucky earlier. I see right there up by the 96th Street sign, you can see that bright red hair. That is somebody in a Chucky costume. And yes, it looks like they're with somebody wearing a Tiffany costume right there. And that is just the beginning of the Easter eggs that we are seeing here in these costumes. And this is what I mean by this teaser giving me everything that I wanted, because, this movie exists already in a world where the stab movies exist and where the Ghostface killers costumes in the stab movies are sold and are available in stores every Halloween in the universe of the Scream movies, just like they are in our real life world. So and they, not only that, but all of the horror movies that we love, all of the characters that we love, they all exist in there too. So if you're going to set a Scream movie on Halloween, these movies are always referencing the movies that they're at the same time paying homage to, at the same time dissecting. Well, if you're going to do it on Halloween, you've got to include a lot of those characters within those costumes. And right here, just in these quick little first glimpses, that's paying off huge dividends for me. So my Halloween heart is full already in these first few images. So let's get back into it. Like I said, there's Chucky, Tiffany, there's David Bowie. Coming down the stairs right there, you can see that is the bride character from the film Ready or Not. This, of course, a huge meta Easter egg because the Radio Silence guys who are directing these current Scream films, Scream 2022 and this Scream 6, they, of course, their previous film before 2022 was Ready or Not. Of course, the star of that film, who played the bride character, played by Samara Weaving, and she, of course, is one of the new cast members who will be appearing in Scream 6 as well. Some other cool costumes that you can spot as you're looking through here. First bit of text we get, it says, in a city of millions. Some other quick costume close-ups here. Just, again, I gotta love this early bit of Halloween atmosphere. I mean, you're not seeing decorations, but Halloween night, New York City on the subway, you're going to have a lot of people that could give a shit about it, as you can see. But then you're going to have a lot of people in costume, in random costumes. And one of those costumes you see, now this is our first look at some of our returning survivors. There on the left there, of course, that's Jenna Ortega as Tara Carpenter. Over there on the right, that's her sister, Sam Carpenter, a.k.a. Sam Loomis, played by Melissa Barrera. Next to her, that is Mason Gooding, who returns once again playing Chad Meeks. And Mindy, played by Jasmine Savoy Brown, is there as well. But right over Chad's shoulder, that gentleman is wearing a Babadook costume. Yet another awesome Easter egg and just callback directly to the previous film, if you'll remember. Tara, she's a big fan of the Babadook, not so much of slashers, but she likes high concept movies like the Babadook, if you'll remember. So kind of cool seeing that guy dressed as the Babadook right there in the background. What is she looking at? Let's see. All right, now there is a lot to enjoy in just this quick still right here. I mean, obviously the centerpiece right there, we've got somebody dressed in a Ghostface costume, but it's Halloween, so of course there's going to be people dressed in Ghostface costumes, and there's going to be a ton of fun that can be had with that scenario when you've got those costumes readily available at every Spirit Halloween store. Not only that, every Dollar Tree, Dollar General. I mean, they've got every level of Ghostface costume. But let's look at some of the other Halloween costumes we see. Now, there's that bride costume again from Ready or Not. But over there in the right-hand corner, obviously, you know, the big slasher callback with this whole movie is Friday the 13th, Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. So if you're going to have Ghostface taking Manhattan, so to speak, and setting your Scream movie in New York, then for the most meta, self-referential, horror homaging franchise of all time that is the Scream franchise, of course you've got to have Jason there in your film as well, in New York City as well. So there's somebody wearing a Jason mask. And then just beyond Ghostface, you can see somebody dressed as Pinhead. So, you know, the horror icons are just piling up in here. That's Pinhead, Jason, Chucky, Tiffany, Ready or Not, the Babadook. You know, I'm sure we'll probably see a Michael Myers and many others throughout the run of this film. But I'm loving what I'm seeing already in here. And then this delivers on, again, exactly what I was kind of hoping they would play on in this movie. I love Scream 2. That's been getting a lot of love this week because it just celebrated its 25th anniversary. And that opening scene in Scream 2 is so great when the first Stab movie is coming out and everybody's there excited for this movie. They're all dressed in Ghostface masks that they're handing out at the movie premiere. And then, of course, an actual Ghostface killer comes up. Somebody is actually being killed right there in front of everybody. And yet they are screaming, cheering it on. It is the most surreal, one of the coolest scenes in the franchise, for sure. And so the idea of setting this movie on Halloween, first of all, in this universe where anybody can buy a Ghostface costume, yes, it will deliver on the fact that there's going to be so many Ghostface costumes running around. But then, yeah, let's move it out of Woodsboro, because maybe not so many in the town of Woodsboro, where Ghostface has a much more serious, darker meaning, where people are not going to be playing around. Not too many parents in Woodsboro, I think, are going to be letting their kids dress up in a Ghostface costume. But when you move that action to New York City, when you take our four main characters out of Woodsboro, where they've always lived and known, and put them here in the big city on Halloween, multiply all that by the Ghostface factor and the fact that this is 1 year after. I'm assuming this takes place 1 year after the events. I mean, it's the movie's being made and released roughly a year after. We'll see. Maybe it was a few years later. I'm not sure. But I love this still, is what I'm getting at. I love this still right here. You can see 3 different Ghostface masks. And anybody who goes to any Halloween events, who has any trick-or-treaters come to your house, you know that the Ghostface mask, Fun World sold this mask even before Wes Craven's original Scream movie. They had to license it from Fun World to put in that movie. And since then, it has become synonymous with Ghostface and with these movies. But that mask is sold, you see it at the stores all the time. It is sold and marketed with the words Ghostface, the icon of Halloween. And it is one of the major iconic characters of Halloween that you see so prominently throughout Halloween. And I think a lot of it is that those masks are sold everywhere. Fun World gets them out and they get all different price levels, like I said. So again, you translate that into this Scream universe where the Stab movies exist and are their version of the Scream movies, only they're based on true life events. And this is absolute reality. So here's our characters here on a crowded subway, lots of Ghostface costumes. Maybe this is their first Halloween since the killings, or at least their first one here in the big city. You know what I mean? So not only are the wounds still fresh, literally, but also, metaphorically, they have not had time to process any of this, any of these events, I would think. All right, we're about halfway through the teaser. Let's move to the next scene. There's the Babadook lurking again. Now, one thing I've wondered, let's go back on Sam here for just a second. One thing I've wondered, and you guys give me your thoughts on this, because, of course, Scream 2022, Scream 5, left Sam in a very interesting position of still seeing and talking to Billy, right? And I always took that as, he's going to be with her forever. Like, she didn't conquer it in a way of, like, moving on and leaving him behind, and he's never going to influence her. She just, used that influence, as far as I can tell, my read of it, in the most positive way she could at the time, and kind of saved the day with his help and kind of tapping into that part of her legacy. So I guess I've been wondering, and I'll put the question out there to you guys. Are we going to see Billy? Everybody's fixated. Oh, maybe Stu's going to be in this movie, or maybe another former killer is going to come back or something. But there's been no talk. Nobody's wondering. Am I the only one wondering? Is Sam still communicating with and seeing her dad all the time and kind of having these visions? Or has she kind of moved on and is not dealing with that as much in this film? You guys tell me what you think. Again, if we missed the Babadook earlier, just making sure we get a good look at him. And here's our first good look at Mindy, played by Jasmine Savoy Brown again. I loved her in the last film. Um, she's even more than Chad. She is kind of the Randy Meeks character of these new films, speaking in a lot of ways for the audience like he used to do, and you gotta love that. And we just get these quick close-ups of each of our main returning characters, and we're seeing that they they're all looking pretty concerned. They're not laughing. Like I said, I don't think a lot of people wear the Ghostface costume in a playful way in their Woodsboro neighborhoods, and probably never have since the killing started in the 90s. Um, Here we go, another Ghostface killer, another Ghostface costume, I should say, sitting there, and Jason. I don't know if that's another Jason costume. It might be behind him. And who is that? That is one of the creepy little. I don't know if that's supposed to be Samara from The Ring, or maybe the little girl from The Grudge. Again, our primary characters giving us their best. Very worried, very creeped out. I don't like seeing 5 different people dressed like Ghostface in this crowded environment. And again, you've got to imagine going through what they went through, surviving that, trying to move on with your life and getting out of that town where everything reminds you about it, and then you come here and you probably feel like you are successfully getting away from it until a little thing called Halloween comes around. And then everywhere you look, you're reminded. That was cool when it gets dark and then it lights up and it looks like he's come a few steps closer. Again, you're seeing other Ghostface masks in the background, and this is just playing on what our characters know about the history of these killings in their world and what we as fans all know, which is, long story short, spoiler alert, but there's never just one Ghostface. In a city of millions, no one hears you scream. I like that too because that again is kind of a meta Easter egg throwback to the famous tagline for Alien, the original Alien. In space, no one can hear you scream. So I love that they're kind of playing with that idea. But again, it hits on the very real and very terrifying idea of this happening in the crowded atmosphere of New York. And I go back to that awesome opening scene in Scream 2 in a theater with hundreds of people like that was, where they're all, rabid horror movie fans ready to see some on screen killings. When a real killing happens, they don't hear her scream because they're too busy screaming and cheering it all on. It's a beautifully surreal and meta and subversive scene. And, we've heard from comments from both Jenna and Melissa that this film is going to be a lot bloodier, a lot gorier. Jenna has said that there's a lot more cat and mouse chasing scenes that she said are more like Scream 2. So taking all of that into account, adding the New York setting, and again, I think the New York setting would probably have been good for most of these characters until right about now, when everybody is in costume, and a lot of those people, killers or not, just they're wearing that iconic mask, which would be iconic in their universe just like it is in ours. Jasmine's such an amazing actor. I mean, I've seen her in other stuff. She's really great in Yellow Jackets, if you haven't watched that. But yeah, looking very distressed here and very different than the Mindy that we met and saw in the previous film. It was very kind of light and fun. Yeah, she's none of these characters are having a good time right now. And it's not just because that subway is extra crowded. Just some cool little subtle music here, nothing too crazy. We get one quick little jump scare. Look at that. Look at that fear in her eyes. This was a great moment, and I love how it built up just by having the lights flickering, Ghostface being a little bit closer. And I know before anybody jumps to, oh, this is spoiling too much, this means that, oh, she's gonna die right here in this scene. I don't take it that way at all. I don't think it's spoiling anything. I mean, for all we know, this is a nightmare sequence. Maybe Mindy's having a nightmare right now, and this isn't even happening in reality. I definitely do not think it's a scene from a stab movie. I mean, that is pretty obvious. But and this may possibly not even be a Ghostface killer here. Maybe she's not dreaming, but maybe it's just some asshole, messing with her. Let me go back just a minute as a good look at Ghostface. And again, I wouldn't read too much in here. This mask looks pretty gleamingly white and new. Not that worn mask that was released by Entertainment Weekly earlier today that the directors are talking about, alluding to that being kind of the new mask. But I think more than anything, this teases that new New York atmosphere, the possibilities that brings, amplified so effectively by the Halloween setting. And then, we don't get much in the way of our characters, but just enough to know that they are not doing well, I would say. I mean, maybe they were doing well. Like I said, I kind of could see all four of these characters wanting to get out of Woodsboro after the events of the last film. And I could see something so different as New York being a fresh air for them and good for them in a lot of ways. But then Halloween comes. Then the Ghostface costumes are sold everywhere. Then there's TV specials capitalizing on it all the time. And then this happens. Anyway, give me your thoughts. What do you think is happening in this scene? Is this kind of a red herring thing? I mean, do you think Mindy's this is actually Mindy's last scene in the movie? It's possible, maybe. I wouldn't assume that though, personally. And then again, I love this image right here. We get Scream, we get that classic knife slash, which goes back to the marketing and the trailers of all the previous films, and that new old, or that old new, however you want to look at it, that worn, faded, cracked mask right there, and then we get the VI for the Roman numeral 6 covered in blood. I think this is a highly effective teaser. I think it shows just enough to get the point across of what they are selling with this movie. That, yeah, our main four characters are back. It's Halloween. It's in New York. They are going to be creeped out by a ton of people in Ghostface costumes. And among them, obviously, inevitably, there will be a real killer or killers. Returning cast members, legacy cast members. We know Courteney Cox is back as Gale Weathers. Again, if they're in New York, it makes total sense. Gale would be working there. Also, we know that Hayden Panettierre reprising her Scream 4 role as Kirby Reed. It'll be interesting to see how they incorporate her. But I am totally fine that we don't see any of them in this. That there's really no dialogue in this. It's just a little bit of mood, a little bit of Hallowsphere, which I ain't upset about at all. A lot of Ghostfaces, and some severely stressed out, trauma-induced looks from our surviving core 4 from Scream 5. As always, give me your thoughts on this teaser and let me know what I missed in the comments below. Scream 6 will arrive in theaters on March 10th, 2023. I can't wait. So, we're just under 3 months until the release of this movie. We're going to be covering it head to toe. We're going to be covering it because, of course, Ghostface, Scream, it's one of the iconic horror franchises, and we do love to give all of the greatest monsters of all time their due here at Halloween Daily News. But the fact that this is a Scream Halloween movie, of course, you have our attention now, to say the least. But give me your thoughts down below.